There's a hidden formula behind YouTube success that most creators get completely backwards. I call it the 10-30-60 rule. And the reality is that most creators are spending 90% of their time on the 10% that matters the least. It's the reason why you can study your analytics, improve your titles, fix your thumbnails, follow all the right advice, and still feel stuck. I'm Chenise Kanemoto, an attorney and high-performance mindset coach for YouTube creators. And what I keep seeing over and over again is that YouTube success is less of a strategy game and more of a performance psychology game. Once you understand what the 10, 30, and 60 really mean, the reason you're stuck will become very clear, and you'll know exactly what you need to work on next. So here's how I actually see it breaking down. 10% strategy, 30% execution, and 60% mindset. And to succeed on YouTube long term, you need all three. Now, before you push back on that, let me be clear. I'm not saying strategy doesn't matter. It absolutely does. And execution definitely matters too. But mindset is the force multiplier underneath both of them. It's the foundation that determines how well everything else on your channel works. It's what keeps you in the game long enough to see the compound effects of your strategy and execution. And yet, mindset is the part most creators are spending the least time on. So let's go through each piece because the breakdown matters. Let's start with strategy and why it accounts for less than most people think. YouTube content strategy has become increasingly commoditized. Almost everything you need to know is already out there. You can Google it, watch a YouTube video on it, or just ask Claude or ChatGPT. The average creator already knows that hooks matter, that thumbnails drive clicks, that storytelling builds retention, and that you need to be consistent. Good strategy is critical because it gives you direction, leverage, and positioning. You need to understand what works and why, and staying current as the platform evolves is just part of the job. But what I kept seeing, both in my own experience and working with creators, was that most of us already know way more strategy than we're consistently applying. Knowing what to do and actually doing it well are two very different things. And most creators underestimate how big that gap really is. Which leads us to the second piece of the formula, execution. And I put that at about 30%. Two creators can follow the exact same strategy playbook and get completely different results. Because execution is a skill, and skills vary a lot from creator to creator. Execution is how well you tell the story, how authentically you deliver on camera, how sharp your scripting is, how well your video editing holds attention, how clearly you communicate with your audience in a way that actually makes them stay. It's the craft of making good content, and that craft is developed through repetition, refinement, and staying in the game long enough to get genuinely good at it, which is exactly why mindset becomes the most important piece. Because if you can't stay mentally and emotionally grounded enough to keep showing up, you never get to develop the execution. You never get the reps, you never master your craft. You quit before the work has a chance to pay off, and no amount of strategy knowledge can compensate for that. And finally, we get to the biggest piece of the formula, mindset. So if strategy is 10 and execution is 30, why does mindset carry 60% of the weight? Because strategy isn't what breaks most creators. Their own psychology is. And when I say mindset, I don't mean it in the vague motivational sense of the word. I mean the psychological patterns that determine whether you can consistently show up, execute, and stay in the game long enough for any of this to compound. And this is the part almost no one is talking about. Creators usually lose the mental game long before they run out of strategy. They don't make a rational decision that YouTube isn't working. They spiral after a video underperforms and go quiet for 3 weeks. They keep tweaking the same upload because perfectionism disguises itself as quality control. They binge strategy content and call it preparation when it's actually avoidance. And eventually, the emotional weight of uncertainty just becomes too heavy to keep carrying. YouTube is not just testing your strategy. It's testing your psychology. Most creators don't need another course on content strategy. They need the emotional resilience to upload 100 videos, to stay regulated when growth is slow, and to keep executing even when the results aren't reflecting their effort yet. And that's a game most creators were never taught how to play. So before we go further, I want you to think about your own channel for a second. Where are you most stuck right now? And ask yourself, is this actually a strategy problem or is it a mindset problem? I'm curious what comes up for you. And if you're finding this useful, I'd love for you to subscribe. This channel is brand new and I'm building it specifically for creators like you. Every subscriber genuinely matters right now. Now, once you start seeing these patterns clearly, something else becomes obvious. A lot of what creators call execution problems are actually mindset problems. They just don't look like it on the surface. So most creators keep searching for more strategy to fix a problem that strategy can't fix. And once you know what to look for, you start seeing it everywhere. Inconsistency, for example, is rarely a discipline problem. It's often a fear of judgment problem. The creator who can't stay consistent isn't lazy. They might just feel emotionally exposed every time they publish. And eventually the mind starts finding reasons to avoid it. Perfectionism usually isn't just about having high standards. It's often a defense against a fear of not being good enough. And endlessly consuming strategy content is sometimes a way to stay close to YouTube without having to be vulnerable on it. And I say this having absolutely done all of these things myself. What creators often think is a strategy or an execution problem is actually a mindset problem. And that one distinction matters because you can't fix something you can't clearly see. Now, I know not everyone will agree with that breakdown, so I'm curious where you land on it. Do you agree with the 10-30-60 split, or would you weight it differently? Let me know in the comments. So if mindset is really driving 60% of the outcome, the obvious next question is, how do you actually work on it? And the honest answer is that it looks a lot different than most people expect. Many creators hear mindset work and picture affirmations or motivational pep talks. And that's not really what it is. Mindset work at its core is the practice of identifying and shifting the internal patterns that are directly driving your behavior, your decisions, and your results. You can absolutely do this work on your own. A lot of creators do. But here's the challenge. The patterns getting in your way aren't always visible to you. Most creators are trying to solve their YouTube problems from inside the same thinking patterns that created them. And that's where working with a coach tends to dramatically accelerate the process. Not because you're incapable of figuring it out alone, but because an outside perspective trained in this work can see what you genuinely can't see from where you're standing and help you move through it a lot easier and a lot faster. As a professionally trained and certified coach, the way I work with creators draws on psychology, neuroscience, and neuro-linguistic programming to help you identify the specific internal patterns affecting your performance, shift them at a deeper level, and translate that work into consistent execution and real results on your channel. In my own coaching work with creators, I found that lasting change requires 4 things because it doesn't happen from a single insight, no matter how good that insight is. It has to happen at multiple levels, and in my experience, these levels tend to reinforce each other. The first is internal regulation. A creator who is constantly attaching self-worth to performance, spiraling after low-view videos, or burning out trying to keep pace with an unsustainable schedule will struggle to perform consistently in the long term. When the internal state is dysregulated, it becomes much harder to think clearly, make good decisions, and show up with the kind of grounded presence that creating great content requires. The second is conscious belief change. Beliefs like, I'm behind, I'm not good enough, or I'm failing, directly shape behavior, confidence, and consistency. The stories you repeatedly tell yourself eventually determine what you do and don't do on your channel. So we work on changing those beliefs to support a higher level of performance. The third is subconscious reprogramming. A creator can consciously understand something and still emotionally react from much deeper conditioning. Fear of visibility, fear of criticism, identity limitations. These deeper ones sometimes don't get resolved through awareness alone, which is why creators can know exactly what they need to do and still struggle to consistently do it. Our work is rewiring your brain around these deeper subconscious patterns. And the fourth is results-driven action, because awareness without action doesn't create transformation. The goal here isn't endless self-analysis or temporary inspiration. It's consistent execution, sustainable momentum, and real performance at a higher level. That's the work, and that's actually what moves the needle. And when it's done at all 4 levels, the results tend to compound in ways that strategy alone never could. Consistency improves, confidence stabilizes, the emotional weight of putting yourself out there starts to lift, and the channel you've been trying to build becomes a lot more sustainable to actually run. If you're an established creator who knows you're capable of more and you're ready to do the deeper work to get there, the link below has information about my Creator Mindset Mastery coaching program and how to apply. And if you're not sure where to start, my free Creator Mindset Gap Assessment helps you identify exactly which internal patterns are most affecting your performance right now. Knowing the 10-30-60 rule is one thing. Knowing exactly which patterns are quietly affecting your performance is another. In the next video, I break down the 6 mindset gaps that silently hold creators back. And one of them is almost certainly running in the background of your channel right now. Watch that one next.